Welcome to the Tangent, gentlemen, where each week Scott and I start with a topic from the previous episode, and we see where the conversation takes us. Along the way, there'll be a question, idea, disagreement, maybe several that'll spark a tangent. And from that list of tangents, we'll choose next week's discussion. And we got a little help with that this week, Scott. We'll talk about that a little later.
Yep. Should be a good little change.
Yeah. So. Listener idea came to fruition. So this week's topic is coaching.
Yes, coaching.
You have some ideas on coaching?
Yeah, we both coached in various capacities for over the years. Where did you start with this one? I'm just curious. What was your thinking or thought process on this path?
So I started by looking up Webster's dictionary definition of coaching.
Okay.
Yeah, I wrote that down. It said the act of instructing, directing, or training intensively, often involving demonstration to improve skills or performance. Okay. And something stood out to me as missing in that definition from the way coaching is viewed today. Is there something missing for you?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, what do you tell me what you're thinking about?
So to me, it was there's nothing about growth. So there's so I kind of started thinking along two roads, kind of like, I guess what we would typically think is of athletic coaching, which is to make sure that the individual or the team you're coaching performs better. Right. And then there's another road that we hear called coaching today, which is about making whatever individual or team you're coaching the best version of themselves they can be.
Collectively or both? Individual or collective?
Either way. Yeah. And there's some, I'm sure, there's some overlap, a lot, but so that's kind of where I started. And then, it kind of took off on some different thoughts there. But before we get into it, though, something interesting that I found when I was looking up the definition. So the term coach was first used, they think, around 1830 at Oxford University. So, of course, like a horse-drawn carriage was called a coach or a stagecoach or whatever. And at Oxford University, coach was a slang term for a tutor that was used to help carry a student through an exam. Students. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Nice. All right. I got to put that on my business card for my tutoring gigs, coach, additional coaching available. See, I kept going down this athletic path. That's like, initially I was like looking at who are considered the best coaches, famous coaches, successful coaches, coach lore, so to speak, more sports. Then I got into my head about my own personal coaching experience. And to your point about growth, I think back to what I think of sports-wise. My best coaching years was when I coached Little League, not because our teams were ever really successful, but the kids, I think they all got better at something.
Yeah.
And I took great pride in I could teach a kid, I could take a kid and, whenever spring baseball started, April-ish, I guess, late March, April. And by the end of the season, my infield could turn a double play, we developed skills and awareness that they knew what to do in situations. And, I tried to get kids that could hit to get them to be better hitters, but that wasn't to me. I was more about teaching them the sort of skills of defense. But I think what I really liked about it was the interdependence of defense. Mm-hmm. Coaching them that you need to teamwork. You need to do Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. You do your part, and you depend on that other person to do their part, and collectively, you will get 2 outs instead of 1 in the case of a double play.
Yeah. And that's one of those traits that carries over into life. I think I think especially in youth league sports, I mean, that's got to be the attitude. You're not, you know, it's about making every player on that team a little bit better at whatever sport you're coaching, and because you're not always going to be able to win. I mean, all the way up and down the line, great players make coaches look real good.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's just like smart kids make teachers look good,
Yeah. If you know your stuff. If you know your stuff. Yeah. Now, if you're a teacher that doesn't know your stuff, a smart student can make you look really bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So,
So that was one thing. And then I got into this idea of like just sort of the history of the idea of the player coach. Like when we think of coach as independent, at least sports wise. You're independent of the players. You're an outside. You're managing and you're instructing and you're designing, but you're not a player. So I was just curious, what was that? Was that always the case? Which your Oxford example indicates that, yeah, it was. It was. I mean, the tutor wasn't in class taking.
Yeah.
They were independent of the teacher. They were, independent of the student. And so that's kind of where I started looking at player coach.
By player coach, you mean someone who is on the team, or are you because I've heard that term used. I guess it would be players coach, like when you talk about a coach that's really, really well liked by the players on the team and has that relationship piece.
Player - coach.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. I've always been fascinated with Bill Russell. I just think he's an amazing individual and amazing basketball player.
Mm-hmm.
And he was one of the first player coaches in the NBA. He was on the Celtics, but he also was the coach.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think is just a testament to his prowess and just, his ability to lead people.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was a player coach in the latter part of his career.
We hear that about players a lot. Well, not a lot, but you hear that. You just hear, that particular athlete is like having a coach on the field or having a coach on the court, so they're not officially listed as a coach, but there's somebody that's, and usually what's meant by that is they're seeing things and recommending changes on the sidelines or whatever, and leading the team and all the things that you see in a coach.
So I never played football. When you played football, what positions did you play?
Well, I only played in youth league up to my freshman year, and then everybody got a lot bigger than me, and football started hurting too bad.
Okay.
I think when I started high school, I think I had a concussion at the end of every practice.
Oh,
well, we had I don't know if he was all state or all district, but we had a I'm going to say all state linebacker, and I was the scout team running back. And I weighed 120 pounds my sophomore year. And we had this old coach, and he just yelled the offensive plays for the scout team out loud so the defense would hear him. And I got hit helmet to helmet by this all-state linebacker about 40 times per practice and had a headache at the end of every practice every day. I'm sure I had concussions.
Wow.
It's probably what's wrong with me.
Wow. Yeah. Times have changed. Probably for the better. We'll say for the better. I was just curious because, I think of you from a work standpoint is like you have the mindset, and to me, you have the philosophies of a linebacker, like on defense, like your ability to see immediate needs, long-term needs, projected needs. You just have that ability. You always impress me with that ability to do that. That's what I always think of, like a really good linebacker in football has that ability. Like they know what the linemen are supposed to be doing. They're looking for clues in the backfield of the offense. They're seeing things, and I mean, obviously they have physical skills, but I just think intellectually, those are my favorite players to watch. Because and when I think of coaches on the field, those are, to me, the coaches on the field.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I was littler than you, so I definitely never played football. So.
Well, you know, I think if you're in a position where you've got people under you in the work environment whose performance would benefit the institution if their performance was better, you have to kind of perform like a coach. You know, you want you want to make you want to lift up your place of business by building up everybody around you.
Right.
And making them better for the benefit of the business. And, you know, I think you see a lot of carryover from athletics to that, because, you know, you always hear about as this player's uncoachable, or this player's, you know, is coachable. And, you know, you kind of have those same people in the workforce. So that's one of the things I started thinking about. What is it? Well, let me ask you this question. Are you someone who resists coaching, or do you seek out coaching?
Oh, I love to be coached.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I do too. But I'm sure we've both met. There are people who are very, very resistant to any coaching.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can think of several people that you and I worked with who both when you know, you were a principal at my school, and then when we were both working in the capacity of, you know, you were at the district level and I had worked, you know, you and I intersected and passed in that way. There definitely were some people that they didn't want to have the conversation about. To me, the conversation is about how do I get better, and how do we make the system better, whatever the system is. And there were so many people that just, they took that as a personal to And I never could understand that. Like, you know.
So I was going to ask you why you thought. Well, I think I did ask you that because I thought about that a lot too. But what is it that makes? What is it that makes people resist? Because I seek out coaching too, and I still do. I mean, you know, when I go to the gym to work out now, I pay for an app on the telephone. You know, I use my phone and an app, and I bring up workouts with professional coaches because I just like to be told, you know, here's a good series of exercises for today, and make sure you're doing this, keeping up a time pace, and I feel like I thrive under that type of thing more so. I'll get more done in 30 minutes than if I go to the gym by myself and try to do a 30-minute workout.
Yeah. No, I'm the same way. I mean, I think my hardest and most, I guess I'm the most proud of physical thing that I ever did was when we started running together, and when I was 40, there's a group of us that decided we were going to run a half marathon in Louisville, and our friends Dave and Lauren were there, and they were polar opposites in terms of coaching philosophies.
Yeah.
But I thrived under, I relished both of their feedbacks.
Yeah.
You know, both of their types of input and feedback. And I think that's because I want coaching in every way I can possibly get it. Because there are some days I need the yay, rah, I believe in you kind of coach. And there are some days that I won't repeat some of the things that Dave said, but, you know, I need the coach that just rips into me and pushes me, you know?
Yeah.
Which actually, that's one of the things I wanted to talk about. We can see if we get, well, I want to talk about coaches that go too far. Like what that idea, like that's a.
Well, when you were talking about those two examples there, I was thinking, you know, you kind of have the idea of tough love, you know, on one side, and then the other side you have very supportive and, you know, do your best, and you know that's all you can do is do your best.
But it wasn't just empty do your best. You know, it was, hey, your pace is really doing well. Maybe you should pick up your pace. Maybe you could increase your pace, or, you know, you're climbing hills well. You know, I mean, it was very specific, which I think this gets back to what I felt like I got a lot better at as a professional when I went from being a classroom teacher to being a instructional coach or whatever that job title was. Because how do you identify the needs of people, and then how do you get them to want to change? How do you get them to recognize the need for that change? And I think that's something that a coach, a really good coach, is able to do in any format, in any venue. Because
so do you think is coaching essential for growth?
For most people, I think it is.
Why is it? I've got like 3 thoughts. I probably should write them down so I don't forget. But why is it that we have such a hard time accurately evaluating ourselves? I wonder.
I think you're too close. I just think you're too close to the event, whatever the event is.
Just blind spots, just habits.
Yeah. Or you're just immersed in it. I mean, you're whatever the activity is. If you're a classroom teacher, you're managing 12 things at one time. You're not able to really assess your assessment instruments or your questioning techniques, or you need that objectivity. You need that.
You don't really
I used to always talk about that the 30-foot view or the 10, the 1,000-foot view. You need both those views, and you can't have that, I don't think, when you're in the middle of doing a thing, whatever the thing is, whether it's lifting or running or teaching chemistry. It's really hard to be in the moment and have perspective of the moment.
Yeah.
So,
getting back to the idea of tough love and coaches that go too far, when you ask that, I had 2, famous coaches come to mind would be like Bill Belichick and then Bobby Knight.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Same process. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Because, Bill Belichick, he has his system, and he expects everybody, he knows what everybody on the team is supposed to do for them to have the best chance to win. And he just expects you to do that. And if you don't, there's going to be problems. But as far as I know, players, there might be some players that don't like him, but he seems to be very respected. And, I don't know of any abuse or anything. And then you got on the other end, you got Bobby Knight, who is by wins and losses and championships was very successful. But, you have that pattern of verbal abuse and physical abuse.
Right.
And
both those names came up in my research and in my thought. The thing that's interesting to me about Belichick is, obviously he won 6 Super Bowls with the Patriots, great coach, but he also was not very successful. And, he was the Browns coach, before. I mean, he had stops along the way where he was not successful. So then that leads one to believe, or to me, the question comes up, was it his system, or was it just a confluence of, Brady and getting the right people? And I think Brady, as much as I don't know, for years I tried to deny that Tom Brady was as good of a quarterback as he was, but I think that matters. I think having that system.
I'm sorry, I just had the vision of Tom Brady's 40 at the when he ran the 40-yard dash at the combine. Oh, it was terrible.
Oh, it was?
Terrible.
Okay, yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, so we can't. To me, you can't attribute it all to the Belichick system, because if it was, then he would have been that successful at Cleveland or I think he was the coach of the Jets too, and some other places along the way before he ended up in New England. And so I'm not dismissing him. Obviously, he figured some things out and was very successful.
And maybe he was refining his system, or maybe he finally got to a place where he had the people that could do the jobs that he needed done to win in his system. Yeah.
Right. Because, I mean, just to your earlier question about coachable, is a coach coachable? You know, did he have people that he went to that said, hey, I tried this in Cleveland in this way. What worked, what didn't work? I mean, I don't know who all was on his staff then. I don't know enough history of all that. But you know, did he learn? Was he coached, which made him a better performer, i.e. coach, when he got to New England?
So, you know, I think at that level, you've got to be very resilient, and you've got to be able to adapt, you know, to even survive. I mean, there must be like an extremely small pool of elite coaches. I mean, you know, like the NFL we're talking about, you know, a coach get fired from one team and be hired by another. It's like the same circle of people who go around. And you know, I kind of thought about that too. What makes these? Because the first thing I thought, what is, it's got to be worth the money to pay these guys the money they're being paid, or they wouldn't be paid that much. Don't you think?
I guess.
Because part of me thinks there's got to be other people that can coach as well as Bill Belichick and do it at half the salary.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I often wonder, and I say this as a Bengals fan, I often wonder, do NFL owners really want to win? Is that really, because it seems to me so often they make decisions, particularly about coaching, but also about personnel and players.
Well, I think they want to fill the stands.
Yeah, right, which is different than winning.
But winning helps.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But a lot of, you know, that you yell at me when I bring up books, but it's a great book
I don't
called,
yell at you.
I know you don't. It's a great book called Scorecasting. And the idea is they look at sort of the science behind sports myths. Are they real? Like, is there such a thing as a home field advantage? Do elite hitters get a different strike zone? Various sports, you know, myths or whatever. And one of them is, why are the Cubs, this is shout out Chris, why do the Cubs have such loyal fans, even though when the book was written, they hadn't won a World Series in 100 years? And they looked at the data about what is it about, why do Cubs fans keep coming back? And
was it Harry Carey?
It was, you will, it's so bizarre. It's beer prices.
Okay.
So when the only thing that made Cubs attendance drop is when they would raise the price of beer at Wrigley, and it would raise the price, attendance would drop for a year or two, and then slowly fans would start to come back. And that seemed to be the only variable that influenced fan loyalty. So to your point about owners just want to fill the seats, winning's not really an issue. Not necessarily.
Speaking of beer, have you ever had a chelada?
I have not. I like the Negro Modelo.
So
what's that one?
It's beer, tomato juice, lime, and salt.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot going on.
It's pretty good. I like them.
Really?
Because I don't really like beer much anymore. So whenever I kind of want to drink something out of the can, I'll have a chelada. And Modelo's the best. So if you see a Modelo chelada, try it out. You might like it.
All right. I'll give it a shot.
Have you ever heard of Diego Simeone, I guess is how you say his name? Highest paid coach in the world. Makes $34 million a year. Soccer team in Madrid.
Okay.
I started, you know, we were talking about what makes these guys. I mean, obviously there's a lot of people that got the expertise in their field. You know, got the communication skills, got the people skills to deal with players. You know, so what is it that gives you like that guy or Bill Belichick or Andy Reid or Steve Kerr, to keep them in those elite leagues. It's got to be. I think it's got to be like just resilience and emotional composure and
right. I think it gets back to you talked about earlier, the player's coach. Like I think those at that level, those elite athletes have to believe or connect in some way with that coach.
Oh yeah, you definitely got to be able to deal with egos.
Yeah, they don't want to be. Well, whatever. They don't want to be beat up. They don't want to be put down. They don't, they want to be able to be who they are. I mean, you know what? Like the one coach that kept coming up in my research is Phil Jackson. And I don't know.
Michael Jordan speaks highly of him, doesn't he?
He does.
So,
but Brad, I think I would be a pretty good coach if I had Michael Jordan on my team or Kobe and Shaq.
Yeah.
Which is who he had in his. And I know there's a lot more to it. I'm not throwing shade on Phil Jackson, but if you have generational talent, I don't know. I mean, I think this is back to my point about Belichick. Like he had Tom Brady.
Yeah, but Phil Jackson also had to be able to manage Dennis Rodman.
This is true. This is very true.
Didn't one year Dennis Rodman decided he wanted to go to Las Vegas like the day before a playoff game or something?
Yeah. That's what that was in the in, what was it called? What was that series on Netflix called?
The Michael Jordan thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it a Michael Jordan show or was it just the Bulls?
It was about the Bulls.
Yeah.
In general.
It was good. I liked it.
Yeah, it was the winning. What was it called? I forgot. Oh, well.
I'm not going to remember that.
It was entertaining. Yeah, I enjoyed it. So to this idea about what others. Oh, we're getting into TV shows and stuff. So do you know the movie Whiplash?
I've heard of it, but.
Oh, it's a great movie.
Yeah.
So it's about a guy. He's like a concert. He's like a jazz band instructor at this elite private music school.
Yeah.
And he has this drummer. This is played by Miles Teller. He wants to be the best jazz drummer.
I've seen that.
You've seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And just the idea of like, it's a movie that we've watched a lot in my household, and both my kids played music. So we have this ongoing conversation about the healthy attitudes of Whiplash and the not so healthy attitudes of Whiplash. And the guy was a teacher, but he was, sort of a coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just curious what your thought was on like abusive, like coaches can become abusive. Like you talked about Bobby Knight. I mean, but he argued the character in Whiplash, that's how a person becomes great, because someone has to push them to greatness.
Yeah. I don't know.
What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I guess you could debate what goes over the line. But I mean, I don't know, I always think about one argument I've always hated, and you hear a lot with Bobby Knight. Well, it's a different era. You hear that argument a lot about different things. And I don't think that anytime you look at something in history that's bad, it was a different era, but there were people that were against it, just like there were people that accepted it at the time,
Right.
So, and that's kind of what you heard with Bobby Knight. But I do.
Well, right. To case in point, Bobby Knight, contemporary time-wise, sort of preceded, I guess, more so, the John Wooden. I mean, Wooden was a tough coach, but people seemed to really love playing for John Wooden. I mean, he taught them so much, and he supported and encouraged them. I mean, even, we talked about the Jordan documentary. There's a good documentary about Bill Walton, who went to UCLA, and he was as hippie, weirdo, un-John Wooden as he could possibly be. But yet, he saw great value in John Wooden's ideas of discipline and preparedness, and how to develop yourself. Yeah. And I mean, John Wooden, I don't think is known or considered to be an abusive coach.
Yeah. No, I don't think, I would say there were probably some players under Bobby Knight that felt in very real danger of being harmed.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think being tough, the tough love idea, I think sometimes you have to be pushed, but all of us need to be pushed a little bit. It's kind of like we were talking about when with stress. There's a healthy amount of stress, but once you get into physical abuse and that sort of thing, I mean, that's definitely over the line. So it's easy to make that distinction and distinction at the other end, but where you exactly cross over where tough love gets to be too much, I don't know. And I wonder if it depends on the person. The person being coached,
Right. Well, and I think that's where, to your point about Belichick, is like, let's, for the sake of argument, say he was refining his skills from whatever is, I know he was a head coach in the Browns, but wherever his first head coaching job on, he was himself refining his skills. And he learned how to handle, whatever the continuum is from Tom Brady to a Randy Moss and everywhere in between. Very different personalities, but I can help you be the best version, which is back to your original assertion. I can help you grow as an individual and I can help you be the best version of yourself.
And, from your experience in working with adults, we both worked with adults and coaching situations. You always push. You're always pushing people. But then you also got to recognize when, okay, it's time to back off a little bit. And then push and back off. And then you also got to, I think good coaches make sure that everybody understands what we're trying to do. And, I think that's what a lot of these elite athletic coaches do. Everybody understands the system, understands the process, and even if they don't fully believe in it, they're committed to not standing in the way of it. They're going to do what they can to make it successful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we've talked about this a lot on this. I really like sports, and I think the parallels. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. The parallels between sports and whatever activity you're involved in, I think they're there in so many ways. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really important thing is the point that you make about you want to improve, you want to identify what you can improve on and work towards improving, but you also have to recognize, I'm never going to be whatever, I'm never going to run a 4.240. I'm never going to, there are things I can get better at, but I'm never going to be that degree of a physical performance. And I think that has to work. That has to be in play when you talk about coaching, whether it's at the little league level all the way up to the NFL. Like, it's reasonable for me to expect you to do this. Do you agree? Well, then I can help you get there.
That just made me think, and I guess maybe one of the reason elite coaches are so valuable is because when you get to that level, that gap in performance among athletes gets smaller and smaller.
Sure.
So one of the places you can make a bigger difference in your chances for success is in leadership and coaching.
Yeah. You talk about, like you mentioned, Steve Kerr. You think about that. This guy has to coach, arguably one of the greatest basketball players ever in, Steve Kerr, and Steph Curry, mm-hmm. and Draymond Green.
Yeah.
I don't know what Draymond Green's about a lot of the time, but it's not the same thing that Steph Curry's about,
So what do you think coaching is synonymous with mentoring?
No, I think it's, to me, it's teaching.
Coaching is teaching.
Yeah. If I'm looking for an allegory or an analogy, I think it's teaching. Because mentoring to me is a little more I don't know. I guess I think of mentoring as a little bit more business model, to where it's a little more hands off, and this is what I did to be successful. This is how you can emulate what I did. That's what I think of mentoring is. It's one step removed, whereas I think coaching is one step closer to the actual individual.
Yeah.
That's my, so.
And there's a lot of examples of someone being a great coach that was not a good player or did not even play the sport.
Yeah, that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, do you think that obviously I don't know that I don't think Belichick played in the NFL. I don't know that. I mean, Steve Kerr played. Well, yeah, he played for the Spurs, so he played in the NBA. He probably won they probably won a championship when he was there, I think.
Yeah. But I think, there's like a classic coach that didn't play at all, isn't there? It's like in
an NBA or in?
No, I'm thinking football, college football, maybe. I don't know, but I mean, I know it's happened. And, I think it's, if somebody really studies the game and has all those other things we talked about, the people skills, communication skills, the resiliency and emotional stability and composure and all those things you need, they could be a great coach and not have been a great player. And you got the other way. You can you have been a great player and not a great coach.
Yeah. Well, I think you've talked about what they have or what their experience was. Yeah, I think about like the idea of Moneyball and this idea of analytics and like this understanding or this emphasis on analytics, which is kind of where professional sports are now. Like, the number of times I watch an NFL game and like, analytics said they should go for it or they should punt or whatever.
It's got to change the NFL too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you see them go for it on fourth down a lot now, or that used to fourth down punt.
Well, that was a chapter in scorecasting. There was a guy in Arkansas, I think it was a high school coach in Arkansas, never punted, never, always went for it, and it was just interesting. Like his idea was like, why would I do that? Why would I give them the ball?
Yeah,
I'll take my chance. I'd rather have the ball and take my chance. Yeah, and so. Well, so should you go for it on fourth down?
Well, before they changed the rules, I always wondered about onside kick in football. I mean, you kick it deep and they return it, to the 20 to 30 yard line usually. And you onside kick it and maybe they get 10 more yards, but you got the chance to possibly get the ball back. What if somebody just did an onside kick every time? I mean, you got to tell them, now you do it, but let's just do it every time. I'm just waiting for the football coach that has the cojones to try that.
Well, Sean Payton, shout out Sean Payton. You go for an onside kick in the Super Bowl. That's pretty early on. You get the kickoff start of the second half. I think he did. So it's pretty, pretty adventurous.
So when I was thinking about coaches that may not have been great players and may not have played at all, I always think about that, in our profession. I guess, of course, this is going to come back to education a lot because that's what we did for so many years. But I told people all the time that you don't really see enough of a classroom to become your best teacher while you're in the classroom. Like once I got out of the classroom.
Completely agree.
I got out of the classroom and I was able to visit other classrooms and see these teachers that were much better than I ever was. And every time I go in, I'd pull something out. And you start building up by watching all these great teachers. You start building up this toolbox that you can share with other people that makes you a much better coach than you ever would have been. And if you went back to the classroom, you would be 10 times the teacher that you were when you were in a classroom.
Well, and see, to me, that was one of the facets of kind of our model that we worked with, which was getting teachers into other teachers' classrooms, which, sort of made them coaches, on a small scale. Like coaches in terms of observers, which I think gets back to my earlier comment about working at the 10-foot level versus the 30-foot level versus the 100 versus the 1,000-foot level. You're seeing things differently. And I think that's what good coaches do. You have to be a good coach has to be able to see it, whatever the metaphor is, from the point guard's perspective, from the from the center's perspective, from the whole team's perspective, who's open, who's not, which I didn't talk about this last week, but I thought about it afterwards. That when we were talking about the Olympics, the Miracle on Ice team, when they played the Soviets, he was curious, not the guy who coached the Soviets actually in 1980, but the guy who basically changed Soviet hockey. His real insight was that idea of seeing the game differently, seeing where the puck should be, and putting players in positions to get the puck.
Yeah, we did talk about that.
Yeah. So I just think that's really fascinating that sometimes a great coach just like shakes up the paradigm, rethinks the whole structure.
Yeah.
You could argue that case about Pitino. I always felt like Rick Pitino I continue to think he's one of the greatest basketball coaches ever because he looked at how the game was changing. When he came to Kentucky, he said, hey, they've introduced this rule of the three-pointer. I'm going to get guys who can shoot three-pointers, and I'm going to structure my offense around shooting threes. And the evidence of his success, that was one facet of it, obviously conditioning, and there were other pieces of it too. But
it is that. I think that I do think at that top tier that they do adapt all the time to whatever's around them. The group of players they have, the school where they are, just the rules of the game, whatever it might be.
Yeah, which I think that's what a coach does. I think that's, again, back to that perspective, like the ability to see it up close and to see it from a step or two back. I really think that's what a great coach does.
So I think we're just now getting over 40 minutes.
We are.
We have brought in our friend Chris. We'll ask Chris. Chris, go ahead, and he's watching us live stream right now. So come on in to our meet when you can, Chris. And he has been keeping our tangents, so we don't have to do that during the discussion. And he's going to give us some suggestions on what the topic should be the next week. So this ought to be.
So do we have a sense of grading? What's our grade? Or we want to get Chris in on the grading? What do you want to do here?
Yeah, we'll let Chris grade. Hey, there he is. What's up, Chris?
How's it going, good. Going good.
Welcome to the podcast, man.
Good to be here. I'm excited. This is going to be good. That was a great discussion. And I got to say, you guys stayed more focused on this one than any one of them you guys have done. But I still have it for you. I have some next week topics for sure. Okay. But first of all, let me run this. The Bulls, that documentary was The Last Dance. It literally saved me during COVID because I needed some kind of sports. And I think I just could not wait till the next night on that documentary. Belichick. Here's a fact on Belichick, guys. Without Brady, 83 and 104 for a 44% win percentage.
Oh, wow.
Or with Brady, 249, 75 losses for a 77% win percentage. I'm saying, I'm glad Scott acknowledged that Brady was maybe the GOAT quarterback. I hope that acknowledging that he's a Bengals fan doesn't hurt the broadcast, though, because you might lose some credibility there. I also loved how, Brad mentioned positive stress. You've got distress, which is bad, but there's also the one thing I maybe remember from my counseling classes was eustress. It was a good thing. So I talk to kids a lot about eustress, positive stress, the kind that motivates you, the kinds that you can do. It excites you, it challenges you, but it's manageable. And the last thing, FYI, anybody watching this that coaches football, Brad, Fairfield High School has onside kicked every kickoff for the last 7 years. So
what?
Coach Dover is an onside kicker. We don't kick it deep. It might go out of bounds, but it's going onside kick every time.
Is that true? Are you telling the truth?
I'm telling the truth.
So how successful has that strategy been?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends how good your defense is. But there are times, like this year, I know that we did not get a lot of onside kicks, but then toward the last third of the year, we started playing a lot better and better. And this team got pretty good. And watch out next year, Fairdale's going to be pretty good in football. But we got 3 or 4 down the last 2 or 3 games. And it's a momentum changer. We even got one in the semifinals of the 4A playoffs against the team we were underdogs in, and it gave us momentum for about 15 minutes. But still.
So I always thought the potential reward could be much higher than the risk, and that's why I thought somebody needs an onside kick every time.
Yeah, and he does.
Well, go figure. Yeah. So where did Belichick coach besides Cleveland? That's the only one I can. Was he coaching the Jets?
I think he was coach of the Jets, and of course he coached at Cleveland for a long time. I just thought that blew me away when I looked that up while you guys were speaking. I'm sure who wouldn't be better with Tom Brady, but you actually lost. You were 21 games below 500 without him.
Yeah.
So how great a coach are you? It makes you wonder, right?
I had to laugh though, man, when you said it, because the whole time we were talking, I was thinking, man, we are staying on task tonight. You're going to have a hell of a time coming.
I think we have some good topics.
So let's do a grade. Let's do a grade on
all right,
on how we think the world does with benefiting from coaching.
I'm going to go pretty high. I think it's a B, maybe B plus. I think a good coach can make a difference, can really make a difference. Now, obviously, I know that's a qualified answer, but I'll say in the right dynamic, I'm going to say B plus, and maybe even A minus.
I think I'm going to say so too. I'm going to say B plus, because I do think that they're obviously are poor coaches. But I think with the performance aspect and goals that's involved in coaching, there's a measuring stick. So poor coaches don't last too long.
Yeah.
I'm going to say B plus too. You want to join us in grading, Chris?
Well, I think, just while you guys are speaking, it gives you, when you're not speaking and listening, you do a lot more reflecting. And I thought about, my life, and the one that's still in my life. I talked to Lloyd Gardner almost daily. He's still at the school to which, we all worked at. And I look back on not only his impact on coaching, but, I was totally agreeing with Scott as a mentor. From coach to mentor, he's had a huge impact on me, from cross-country practices to basketball practices. I think I'm right with you, Scott. I'd go B plus, because no matter how great your coach is, you still have to be willing to put in the work and the time to do it. So B plus, A minus, 100%. Coaching's crucial, and we think of it as sports, but it's way more than sports. Maybe that goes down into the mentor role, but yeah, high grades on this one. I'm right with you guys on this great discussion tonight.
So real quick, you mentioned Lloyd. I want to give a shout out to, if you haven't seen it yet, the documentary, it's on Prime, called Soul Power. It's all about the ABA, the history of the American Basketball Association. It's fascinating.
I haven't seen it yet.
Well, an ABA guy. Yeah.
It is so well done. Yeah. You got all the guys, the players are in it. Every star from the ABA took place in this, and it is phenomenal. Yes, I agree with you.
It's really great. Yeah.
And you watch that, watch it.
Yeah. You watch the dunk contest, which was just a throw-off filler, and you think about what that's become in the NBA. It's just fascinating. It's just fascinating. Yeah. Great. It's really good.
We're having a tangent right now. So let me give you guys a rundown on some of the things you talked about. Right. And then what I had is I'm going to give you 4 of my favorite possible tangents or themes for next week based on your all's conversation. But we went all the way starting with Little League to tutoring. We talked about you guys talked about a lot of big people like a Bill Russell, a Phil Jackson, of course, the Tom Brady, the Rick Pitino's, the Bill Belichick's, the Bob Knights, a lot of big names in this episode. Scout team. You got to give respect to the scout team. That deserves at least a shout out. And of course, concussions came right along with that for Brad. I love talking about a marathon because of the training that went involved with it. That is suffering. I ran myself in high school, and running can be best described as suffering. But when I have to get it down to, I'm going to say 4 things, the 4 topics looking at next week in this tangent. Here's what I got. We talked about score. We got scorecasting brought up by Scott. And that's a book, but I still have that on my list, buddy. Maybe after I finish the Irresistible that I'm reading right now, I'll get into scorecasting because that's a book I've been interested in. But you guys talked about data and analytics. and data and analytics versus gut. And you talked about the hockey guy, right? Just feeling his coaching gut, changing stuff up. So maybe a discussion, this tangent led off to analytics versus just the gut in life, right? Because you look at analytics and more in sports and the stats and the data. So there's one. What about this one? I like somebody along the way, Scott brought up systems. We're talking about systems. What about system versus people? Can you have systems that are in line that help people become better employees or people in general? Or does it come down to people? If you're running an organization or a school, would you rather have better systems or better people?
That's good. That's good. I like that. That's good, Chris. That's good.
Another one I thought that was very interesting because it's very, it's relatable to anybody is you talked about classroom teaching and you transitioned to an instructional coach. And I went from classroom teaching to counseling to APing, and then you go from time to time. So the whole like theme of transitions. So you can talk about your job. That can be transitions in life that you go through. And what about the transitions? You guys are retired. I'm going to try to get another year in, get to year 32 and 55, and I'm going to be transitioning into another part of life. So just transitions, whether it be the workplace, whether it be your life, just how you have transitioned throughout the years. And, we're all mid 50s plus. We have some experience with that. So I thought it'd be interesting to hear your thought on transitions, whether it be the workplace or whether it be just life. So transitions. And I actually have 5. I'm going to go with...
what's your favorite?
I don't know. It's tough. I like all of these. But the one that I think is interesting is Brad brought up self-reflection. And it really made me think about, man, that is hard to do. And there's no way you do it accurate. So if you have self-reflection, what is the best way to self-reflect on yourself and get a true feedback on your life? So would that be, you brought up walkthroughs. Man, I remember thinking I was a pretty darn good teacher after 8 years of teaching until I did about my 150th walkthrough. And I realized, gosh, I was terrible. So seeing that gave me an ability to self-reflect a little bit more honestly. But I think self-evaluation, people that surround themselves with people that are going to go, hey, you're awesome, compared to a true self-evaluation of yourself. Because I'm with Scott. You said you were too close to really give a good self-evaluation. And I almost wonder if that's not what a good friend's supposed to do. But I just thought that was interesting. My bonus one was life balance, because we talked about these coaches, and I wondered, can you be a good coach without being a total horrible husband and wife or spouse? Yeah. So I've always loved to talk about life balances because we talked about some top-notch Hall of Fame type people. So if you want to throw in a 5th one, I'm always a life balance guy. I think life balance is so important because when you would not trade lives with a guy like a Tom Brady, I wouldn't, because I wouldn't want to give up my life balance. I don't think there's any way you can be that famous. Or if you're going to coach, you pretty much live at the facility in the pros. I'm out. I'm out on that. So I'll review real quick.
That life-work balance has come up in a few episodes too, I think.
Yeah, I think it has. The data analytics versus like your gut feeling, your systems versus people, transitions, your self-reflection, or life balance. So there you go. There's 5. It's a lot. You guys said a lot of words, though.
What's it going to be, Scott?
Well, I really like the systems versus people, personally. That one's high on my list, but I'm not. That's my number one, and then I'm good with any of them, but that's my number one, and the others life balance is tough. I have to say that it's kind of like when we talked about intelligence. We kind of come in with the skewed perspective because it's easy to have life balance when you're retired.
Yeah,
I mean, I've been whatever. This is partly after podcast conversation, but I've been working on some stuff that's like back to being like at work. And I forgot how hard it is to like get up at 8 and have to show up and be at a place and do a thing for 10 hours.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if I'm a particularly I don't feel great about giving the retired guys perspective on life balance. I mean, I think I worked the latter part of my career for life balance, so I can speak to that. But so that one for me might ring a little bit hollow. So I don't know. That's my take. So
sounds like somebody's dragging a cup across. Let's go with systems versus people then. I can do that.
You okay with that?
Yep.
That's going to be a good one.
Systems versus people next week.
Okay.
Everybody, thanks for listening.
All right. Thanks, guys.